This is called badging. When your fist made contact with his nose and you felt it move beneath your knuckles, it was the biggest you had ever been. It was the most right you'd ever done, the split second in which you became heroic, the moment in which you became legendary. You became a story to tell the grandchildren. The splitting bone and protection of your sister was all that mattered just then in the dark outside the house. Him hammered and screaming dark effigies of her name, trying to get her to open her window. Shut now to him, indefinitely, after what he did. Stupid boys, and their greedy hands and their shallow threats would know better now. Word would spread of what you did to the little shit, how ugly you made him. How you smashed his iPhone off the ground, told him that's what he gets, that's what he gets. The pieces of it shone in the night, sharp and cruel and money, right there on the footpath. His nose a crumpled mess, his mouth drooling bright scarlet remorse. He is outside matching his inside, at last, kneeling there, picking up pieces of his phone off the ground. How the mighty fall, shards of expensive glass in his terrible fingers, insult to injury. You waited until he was done, waited until he got into his banger of a Toyota and drove away, the roar of his engine against the night still somehow pathetic. You and your sister haven't talked about it just yet. This porch, or deck, or whatever you want to call it, is wooden. It is old, painted new. It is where you and your sister had sat in cool summers fighting over a sticky Game Boy that was only held together because of half of a roll of sellotape. It was always angled so the light hit the screen just right. This porch was where you had ended up every summer that you spent at home, trying to rekindle closeness. It is a different porch now, though, with the noise and all. You used to place tiny €3 headphones into plastic cups and hope that they would act as a speaker for the only tapes you had, and the summer would get Cole Porter tender. Why there were so many Cole Porter tapes around, nobody knew, but you both knew that they sometimes had two-part songs, and you let the lovely play to each other in the afternoon before the notes got too high or too low. The Walkman droned in the backdrop of the violins and serenades, but you could sing over it then. Now the new noise on the porch, that was harder to ignore, that drone. You visit in the summer usually. You swoop back over the nest you grew too big for, your wingspan and inconvenience. Your sister's wings are not that big just yet. She still fits perfectly here. You're jealous, but you don't say anything. Especially not now. Wait a minute. Don't worry. Oh. You don't say anything. Not now. Especially not this minute, eating an orange sparkler ice pop from the freezer. It might have been there since last summer, but back then, it was different. Now you listen to her pick scales on the old fat guitar she's been learning to play. Your mouth tastes of old ice and almost orange. She's getting really good, but you don't say anything. Her voice sounds older than she is, and you wonder, is that learned? Is that what Cole Porter did? Or did the boy just turn her more adult this year? Has she grown Amazonian inside the body of an 18-year-old? Does her voice sound so huge because inside she is huge, because she has had to be lately? The noise from under the porch has grown something terrible, even over the last few days. On that you both agree. Actually, it's mostly what you've been talking about since you got back, this noise, rather than the mundane catching up and deep awkward conversations like, why did he think he could come here? Or, do you know how much it's going to cost his parents to fix his teeth? The noise under the porch was the first thing she told you about when you walked in the door from the airport, reeking of air conditioning, dry-throated and teary-eyed with the gladness of being home. You dropped your bags and went to stand in the garden with her. Your parents rolling their eyes, and you went, yeah man, that actually is some unholy noise coming from down there. In the morning, at the kettle, your sister in her dressing gown said, Jesus Christ, I can hear it from in here. And the night after you got back from the pub, you knocked on her bedroom door and whispered through the crack, "Babes, I can hear it from my room too." Your parents insist that it'll go away in its own time, but won't entertain conversation about it of any sort. Your sister keeps trying to bring it up at dinner and breakfast, but they just roll their eyes. "It's nothing," they insist. "It's everything," she replies. As you washed his blood off your knuckles and your own from your mouth, you bit your tongue. He didn't have a chance to bite back. Over the bathroom sink, you could hear it still, the fucking noise of it. Even then, what you would have done for a moment of quiet. It is louder than it even was yesterday, and when your sister stops playing and goes, "I don't think I can take it anymore," you think she's about to bring up the lad, but she doesn't. She goes, "I have to see what's down there." Her phone lies innocuously beside her and chimes with a text message. This is the 4th time it's done that since you've been out here, and she hasn't touched it yet. The light of the screen is so powerful that you can read it from here despite the glare of the sun. His name is 4 bad letters, and anger is a strange thing. How quiet you can keep it, how loud it feels in your gut, in your hands. You don't say anything. She ignores the phone, says, "I think I'm going to go down and look." "No," you say, "I'll do it." And you wonder, will she check her messages while you were gone? You get up and walk down the couple of steps to the grass where the deck is raised a little, where there's a gap. You never thought much about going under the gap as a kid. It seemed impossible then. Now it opens wide like a chasm, like, "Come on down. Don't you want to see what this noise is?" Your knees click as you lean. Your hands are on the earth where the grass stops and under the house begins. Your sister is still strumming. The droning sound from under the house is different now that you're close to it. Now that your face is right there, the darkness grazing your nose. You begin to crawl forward, ducking your head low under the beams, your palms already beginning to tear against the grit. Your sister's legs swinging behind you to the left. You are not in the garden anymore, you are under the house. It smells like damp and concrete, like the week the deck was built is trapped under there still, like the dust never really settled. The noise is texture now against your eyes and ears. You hate it. You look around, neck craned, head scraping against the wood above you. You want to find the source of this terrible thing that has infected your home so you can stop it, so you can quell it. You want to find the source until your eyes register it. At first you think, that's a badger. 4-legged with a snout, kind of. But it is when you look for details there in the underhouse dark that you see all of the bees. Bees and broken glass on 4 legs with a hanging jaw, dripping something that smells so sweet against the dust. Honey, you think it must be. The droning comes from every inch of it, a blur of black and gold and sharp. It opens a jaw and closes it again. It blinks. It is a terrible mess, and the noise it makes so much sense now. Such awful sense. You think for a moment about taking a picture of it, shining a light on it from your phone, capturing its image, but you don't do it. You think for a moment maybe you could punch it from there. Maybe your fist, fresh legend of it, still strong, could maybe destroy this thing. It makes you feel sick, but good, kind of. The noise is all over your body now. You are changed. You begin to back away. You cannot punch it. You cannot land your fist in the centre of its terrible face, in the midst of the bees and the glass and the honey. You cannot just wrench its phone from its hands and shatter it on the pavement. There's nothing that you can do to change things. Maybe the noise will always be there. Maybe it will leave when it wants to. Maybe it will find some other home to pollute with its terrible sound. You know this now. This lives under the house, and that is just where it lives. It told you this with its closeness. You back away, your hands dragging against the ground, useless now. You do not turn your back on it. Instead, just slowly retreat into the light again. You can feel pebbles making their way under your skin, on your palms. Your nylons are torn for sure at the knees. You scrape your back against the lip of the decking as you come out. You could have been there for an hour, a year, just looking at it. You miss it, in a strange way, almost immediately, but are glad that you never have to be that near it again. The garden smells alive and clean. The sunset has coloured the sky pastel and girlish and great. Your sister is looking at you expectantly, and you stand up, dust yourself off. "Your tights!" she exclaims. You wave it off. They were cheap. What was it? She asked, not strumming the guitar anymore, just holding it, her long fingers around its neck. Her phone chimes. Nothing we can do about it, you say. Just gotta leave it. Is it a wasp's nest? I think so, you say, lying. It doesn't matter. Mum and Dad think it'll go away in its own time. They're right. Her phone chimes again. Suddenly, without warning, she picks it up and throws it hard against the brick path of the garden. It audibly cracks. You laugh. She laughs. The droning doesn't stop. Later, you wash your hands and open the bathroom window to hear it better. Over the rush of the water, it is almost music.